You are about to live 365 years and never die. Not because you are special in the way the world defines special. Not because you performed miracles or led armies or built empires. Because you chose one thing above everything else in a world that had chosen everything else above that one thing. You chose to walk with God. And that single choice changed the direction of eternity. You are 65 years old, and your son has just been born. You name him Methuselah, which means when he dies it will come. You do not explain this name to everyone. But those who understand it understand that you have received a word from God. Judgment is coming. Not today, not soon, but it is coming. And the length of your son's life will be the measure of God's patience with generation that has forgotten him completely. Methuselah will live longer than any human being in history, 969 years, which means God's patience will stretch for nearly 1,000 years before the flood arrives. You know this when you name your son. You name him like a prayer and a warning at the same time. This is who you are, a man who hears from God when the world around him has gone completely silent to heaven. You live in the seventh generation from Adam. 7 generations of human beings walking the earth, and already the world looks nothing like the garden. Cain killed his brother and built the first city. His descendants invented weapons and boasted about violence. The line of Seth, your own ancestors, called on the name of God. But calling on a name and walking with the one who owns it are two very different things. Most people in your generation know God's name. Very few know God. You decide that is not enough for you. You want more than knowledge of a name. You want the presence behind it. So you walk, not a dramatic decision, not a moment of crisis or calling or burning bush. Just a daily choice to move through your life with God beside you rather than ahead of you or behind you or somewhere in the distance you might visit on a holy day. Walking with God means conversation. It means listening when the world is loud. It means trusting the direction, even when the road makes no sense to anyone watching. It means being so consistently oriented toward heaven that the people around you begin to notice something different about you that they cannot fully explain. You live in a world of increasing darkness. This is not an exaggeration, and it is not poetry. The Bible describes the days leading to Noah as a time when every imagination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil continually. Every imagination, only evil, continually. This is a world your children are growing up in. This is the world your neighbors inhabit. Violence fills the earth. Corruption spreads like a disease with no cure. The knowledge of God has not disappeared, but the desire for God has. People are living for themselves with a thoroughness and a completeness that leaves no room for anything else. And you walk with God anyway, every single day. For 300 years after Methuselah is born, you walk with God while the world walks away from him. You do not isolate yourself from the world. You do not build walls or close your eyes. You walk through it with God beside you, and this changes everything about how you see it. You see the violence, and you grieve at the way God grieves it. You see the corruption, and you speak against it. The book of Jude tells us you prophesied to your generation. You stood in the middle of a world that had forgotten God, and you said out loud that judgment is coming, that the Lord is coming with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment on all the ungodly. You say this knowing it will not make you popular. You say it because walking with God means you cannot pretend the things he grieves do not exist. People listen, some of them, not enough of them. You keep walking. 365 years of life. In a generation where men routinely live 800 and 900 years, 365 is young, unusually young, strangely short. You have a wife and sons and daughters. You have grandchildren and great-grandchildren. You have watched generations of your family born and grow and age. You have stood at graves and held newborns and celebrated harvests and mourned losses. You have lived a full and real and human life. You are not a monk who disappeared from the world. You are a man who lived completely in it, while remaining completely oriented towards something beyond it. And then one day you are walking with God, and you do not come home. No illness, no burial, no grave, no last words, no deathbed, no mourning period, no body. Genesis says it with the fewest possible words. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. 5 words in Hebrew. He was not here and then not here, present and then absent, walking and then arrived. The book of Hebrews adds one more detail. By faith Enoch was taken up so that he should not see death, and he was not found because God had taken him. Before he was taken, he was commended as having pleased God. He pleased God. That is the whole biography. That is the whole legacy. A man who pleased God so consistently and so completely that the distance between earth and heaven simply closed. His great-grandson Noah will build an ark to survive the flood that Enoch's son's name predicted. Noah will save humanity. But Enoch never needed an ark. Enoch was already where the flood could not reach him, not because he ran from the judgment, but because he had been walking toward God for so long that when the time came, God simply said, "Come the rest of the way." Now here is what this means for you today. You are living in a generation that looks more like Enoch's than any generation since his time. Every imagination of the thoughts of the human heart. The noise is constant. The darkness is visible. The corruption is not hidden anymore. It is celebrated. And in the middle of it, you are trying to figure out how to keep your faith, how to raise your children, how to stay oriented toward heaven when the ground beneath you keeps shifting. Enoch did not have a formula. He did not have a strategy or a program or a method. He had a daily choice. Walk with God today, not tomorrow, not after the world gets better, not when things calm down. Today, in the middle of the violence and the noise and the corruption and the uncertainty, he chose to walk, and he kept choosing it for 300 years. And one day the walk simply became something more than a walk. That is available to you too, not the disappearing, but the walking, the daily choosing. The life so oriented toward God that the people around you cannot fully explain what is different about you. Start there, walk there. The rest is in his hands.